Welcome to IAMCP Profiles and Partnership, the podcast that showcases how Microsoft partners and IAMCP members boost their business by collaborating with other members and partners. I'm your co-host, Anthony Carrano, and in each episode, I sit down with some of the most innovative and successful partners across the Microsoft ecosystem. Today's episode is something special. Instead of one or two partners, we're joined by leaders from the Seattle IAMCP chapter who've built something unique, a structured multi-partner consortium known as the Seattle Joint Solutions Group. So what started as individual ad hoc partnering has evolved into a repeatable AI-enabled framework that allows 9 member organizations to deliver integrated, industry-focused solutions as a unified team. The International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, otherwise known as IAMCP, is built on the idea that partners grow faster together than alone. Members connect locally and globally, access exclusive resources, and unlock new customer and market opportunities. But today you'll hear what happens when that collaboration goes beyond referrals and becomes a fully architected operating model. We'll explore how they align 9 companies into one solution stack, how AI helped define and expand their joint offerings, how they built trust, governance, and accountability at scale, and what this could mean for other IAMCP chapters across the country. So whether you're a new partner looking to accelerate growth or an established firm exploring deeper P2P strategies, this episode will challenge how you think about collaboration inside the Microsoft ecosystem. Let's dive in. Well, welcome everyone to the podcast. I'm so excited to have all of you on as a guest. Before we get started, I'd like to have each of you maybe kind of go around, share a little bit about who you are, your company, and then we'll kind of jump right into the interview. Pat, why don't you start us off, please?
Sure, Anthony. Thanks for having me. My name is Patrick Hart. I'm the Director of Sales for REV, which stands for Remember Every Veteran. We are a service-disabled, veteran-owned, woman-owned small business. And for the most part, what we do is we provide solutions for state and local. We work with homeless, and we do a lot of customized development and bespoke work.
Fantastic, fantastic. Alexandra.
Thanks, Anthony. And like Pat, I'm happy to be here today with you. Alexander Matheson, I am founding partner with Second Forge Group, and we deliver IT modernization solutions.
Excellent, excellent. Nigel, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Anthony, and delighted to be here with this group. So Nigel Postings, founding partner of BizSize, and we are everything about data when it comes to channel. Have I got the right channel partners? Where are they, and what do I do with them?
Excellent, excellent. Catherine.
Hi, Anthony and the rest of the team. I am Director of Internal Operations with WMI Worldwide. We have over 22 years of experience designing, developing, and deploying technology solutions for our clients.
Excellent. And Denny, you're no stranger. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Denny Gim here with Sandler Partners. We're a technology service distributor, jack of all trades and master of all trades, bringing best of breed to every solution.
Excellent. Michael.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone. And I am Michael Ampari, CEO for Warner Marketing Incorporated, or WMI Worldwide, with Catherine. And just to add to Catherine's intro, we are tier 1 supplier, diverse supplier for Microsoft. And we are also into technology and operation consulting. And we also help our client modernize and scale on Azure as well.
Excellent, excellent. And Pramod, again, welcome, sir. I know you're no stranger to this podcast. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Pramod Anthony, CEO of Logic Intelligence. We are a technology solutions provider specializing in data, AI, and business applications.
Excellent. And Paul.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Solsky. I'm a partner at the Redmond Partner Group. We are a team of specialists in business development, helping Microsoft partners to scale their sales through developing customized strategies, building partner networks, and expanding into international markets.
Excellent. Well, welcome, everyone. So excited to have you on for this very special episode. I know I keep talking about it being such a special episode. Usually, we'll have, maybe two partners on. Here we have, about, eight or nine, partners on that make up what's called the Seattle Joint Solutions Group. So let's jump right in. Paul, why don't you tell our listeners what is the Seattle Joint Solution Group, and why did you guys start it?
Thanks, Anthony. So we, as the Seattle IAMCP chapter, have been meeting for years and have been collaborating on a ad hoc one-to-one basis. And we saw that there are opportunities that were open for more complex solutions, and customers wanted complete solutions. And one or two partners didn't have enough breadth of expertise and experience to address those. So we formed a consortium of 8 partners, each with expertise in a different part of the solution stack that customers typically want, varying from data analytics and BI through to ERP, CRM, and AI. And we now have the ability to address a much broader set of needs that customer has by combining our expertise together and presenting it as one. And in that way, the customer gets a more comprehensive and complete solution with one throat to choke accountability. And we've identified some 35 solutions that we can take to market for customers. And so we're working together to individually and collectively to promote the solutions and identify more opportunities.
Man, that's fantastic. Well, what I'd like to hear from each of our guests, like what motivated each of your companies to join this multi partner coalition.
I'm not sure if I can say it much better than Paul did, but I think when you, I think what Rev did is I think we saw the opportunity to join, a complementary group of companies that is just going to be much better positioned to address the end-to-end needs of any client that we're working with, whether that's something like, strategy or implementation, integration, change management, whatever it may be. But doing it under a unified delivery model is going to offer limitless benefits to the client. So, you get fewer handoffs, fewer gaps, solutions designed more as a cohesive system versus being Frankenstein together. So just a lot better alignment and a lot more possibility to do it a lot more. It's like the classic sports saying, faster alone, but farther together.
I don't know about the sports angle, but I'd like to add to that, Pat. I appreciate that. One of the things that we found, and I'm sure a lot of small, mid-sized organizations know that when you invest in a client organization, so often as you make your way through that initial project, you identify new opportunities for business. And the truth is, a single entity like Second Forge Group, there's only so much we can do. But with access to the breadth of resources available through the IAMCP Seattle Joint Solutions Group, we're ultimately able to say yes to almost every client request. And there's a ton of power in that.
Yes, and additionally, we have not only one partner looking for opportunities and solving customers' problems, we now have 8 organizations working together, reaching out the market and leveraging their contacts for the benefit of the entire group.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, on WMI, our mantra is it takes a team, right? And what we realized was, especially working with Microsoft, is that for a small company like ours, sometimes going against the big companies when it comes to RFPs or opportunities, it's very difficult. So being part of a group like this really empowers us to be able to present a suite of experiences that gives us opportunity to be able to go against some of these big guys as well.
Absolutely. Well, what motivated me to join the consortium was the opportunity to have multiple eyes from different disciplines look at an opportunity and give feedback as to other potential services and needs for that customer. It gave me an opportunity to look a little bit deeper, and even just having conversations with some of my colleagues here, it opened up a whole world of other possibilities that I would have never even thought of. So that was a big value for me.
Nigel, how about yourself?
Yeah, I joined the group. Number one, I I want to work with people that are smarter than me, and I think there's 8 people in this group smarter than me. So that's number one. Number two, we all did maths at school. 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2; it equals 3. The sum of our parts is very, very important. We are a data specialist, but data is great. But if you don't do anything with data, either data to find the right client, data to help a client, data to help your client find their client, then it's not very good. So I think working with all these beautiful, smart people has enabled us to have a very, very comprehensive end-to-end solution.
And Pramod, how about yourself? What motivated you to join?
Yeah, especially when we are competing with large corporations and everything, it's very difficult. And then the other thing is like whenever we submit a RFP, when we actually bring in like 10 or 15 RFP, we may end up getting 2 or 3 RFPs, winning RFPs. So this combined effort actually brings up that effort with distributor among like 8 partner companies. So we are being subcontractor in one opportunity than the other one. So that actually brings up the opportunities, more opportunities for us.
Excellent, excellent. And Catherine, how about yourself? What motivated you guys to join?
Well, my answer might be a bit different, but I, had spent some years with the Seattle board, the IAMCP Seattle board. So I was familiar with many of the partners on the call already. And, it almost felt like a no-brainer when we were kind of talking about options to deliver more services, better services to clients. So, that was my motivation for bringing WMI into the mix. We already had a good working relationship. They're people I can trust and lean on with business opportunities. So yeah, pretty much a no-brainer for us.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, this question here, I'm gonna start off here with Nigel, but definitely want to hear the multiple perspectives. How being part of this, how are you able to better meet the needs of prospective clients and the Microsoft markets at large? As a group. Now, I know you just got done saying 1 plus 1 equals 2 or 3. Excuse me, not 2. But why don't you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's so many examples of. I think of maybe work with Alexandra. She knows a particular market very, very well, and I know that our data can help her. Working collectively as an organization, we decide what's the sum of our parts. Who do we need to go and find, and then we can work with these people to expand into new markets that this size necessarily wouldn't go in on our own. It opens up new markets. It's enabled us to do an end-to-end solution where sometimes when you can only do a little bit, it's not delivering greatness to the client. So adding everything together is pretty comprehensive and compelling.
I would just add that if you look at a client organization, they have a need of a breadth of solutions, like a solution stack, all the way from database to the uh, knowledge worker and productivity applications and everything in between. And it's very difficult for any one partner organization to have the breadth of skills across the entire solution stack. And therefore, we tend to specialize. And if we come across an opportunity where, in fact, a much broader, more comprehensive solution is needed, without this partnership, it would be very difficult to address those. So we're able to craft. And what we've done, we've actually used AI to help us craft joint solutions, different mix of the members to work with each other so that we can address more opportunities. And we can behave like a much larger organization and provide the benefits to customers of having that specialized expertise in each of those, each area that they may need it.
Well, one of the things, if I may, kind of ask like a piggyback, and this will be open to the group. So, when you have this many partners, 8, part of this consortium, and your eyes are open, you're out there, you're building your business, but your eyes are open to the opportunities to and because you have this consortium, how do you guys keep yourselves educated and aware of what each other's capabilities or strengths are, so even though you might hear of something that maybe doesn't really fit, within your core capabilities. Like, oh yeah, one of my partners, is part of this consortium. This fits with so and so. But keeping all that in your head when you've got eight, how do you guys, manage that? How do you educate yourselves, keep yourself aware? Because I'm going to throw that out to the group.
I'd love to tag in and answer that one, Anthony.
Excellent.
Yeah, we actually took a tech forward approach to that. And Paul will probably speak a little bit about this as well, just talking about how we identified all of the solutions we can take to market as a group. But we actually took that same AI guided approach to understanding how to message and ultimately position and market our different companies and really document those things. So I worked hand in hand, figuratively, with our colleague JP, and we used ChatGPT and a ton of different messaging materials spanning our companies to sort of distill how do we talk about ourselves individually as organizations, and how can we talk about ourselves in a compelling way as a collective. And then JP and I created and built and maintained with this broader team a process for, again, documenting and then sharing those things across the group.
I'm kind of going back to just the communication that we're having within our group. So part of what we do is we meet once a week and we have talks about deals, best practices, and so forth. That through that communication, I'm a very visual person. I also feel like, we're in the same room. We have an opportunity to share wins together and talk about what we're doing. And that right away opens up the gates in my mind of, oh, I could offer that through Nigel or Alexandria or whatever. And so, just the open dialogue and the continual communication. It's an investment in all of our parts to segment a portion of our week where we're like, okay, we're invested in each other. We're definitely better together. I know that's such a cliche thing, but it's 100% true. So I just add that in.
No, that's fantastic.
Consequently, out of this work, we had JP's proactive system do an AI analysis across all of the members, and we created this matrix of which members have the right solutions for particular applications and even particular industries. And the continued communications that we have on a weekly basis allows us to update that.
And to piggyback on this conversation here, we've been meeting for the past like a year. Every week we are meeting, so that gives us a chance to know each other. What is the company's strength? We are talking about the wins, like Jenny was mentioning. All these kind of things. Actually, now when we have a new project, we don't have to actually go back and look at what are the expertise for each company. We already know that this this is a good one for that particular business, or the partnering actually occurs very naturally.
No, I mean that's pretty fantastic. And I know I was going to get into it a little bit later, but we can, since we're talking about it now, about around the frontier AI and Microsoft Cloud. I mean, you built this portfolio of I think was it 20 frontier AI solutions? Is that
35
correct?
actually.
25?
35.
35. Oh
yeah,
man,
it's grown.
that's okay. So
We're
you're
not
gonna have
sitting
to
on our hands here,
you're gonna have to do
We're
some
working.
unpacking of that here. So I know Alexandra talked a little bit about the using ChatGPT, and you've documented, you've got some processes. I'd love it like if you could maybe go a little bit deeper into how you kind of develop that solution portfolio as a company collective. I know it seems like we touched on it, but can we go a little deeper on that?
Sure. So JP did a great deal of the technical work using a system that he calls the proactive system. And it's an AI, and he created agents that firstly looked individually at each one of our organizations, and pinpointed what solutions each organization can provide to and the value propositions to specific customers. So the value proposition, solutions value proposition, and customer types came out of that initial work. And that was revealing even to us individually. And then what was done was to look at collectively different combinations of partners and what kind of solutions could be addressed there, the value propositions and the customers. And that's how we came up with that portfolio of 35. Alexandra, would you add more to that?
Yeah, I was able to work from all of this rich documentation JP had generated from sort of a custom AI he's developed. And from just a marketing leadership perspective, identify like how can I draw from this and create a distilled collection of messages, and how can we present and ultimately maintain over time, because as we all know, these technologies are evolving really quickly. When we're talking frontier AI, it's truly at the forefront of technological advancement. And so we kind of, JP and I honed this process and then shared it with the team. We're all tagged in at this point and able to access a breadth of materials through a SharePoint repository we all have access to. And so anytime, for example, if they had a question like, how would Second Forge Group address this specific issue? We have these materials created that we're constantly maintaining, where we've documented that messaging and the positioning.
That's fantastic. I do have one more question about this, and I know I want to jump to some of the. I know we kind of jump towards some of the tech. I do want to get towards like some of the human, the cultural, collaborative aspects of it here in a sec. But before I do, I'd be curious just to hear from somebody, and as it's forced you to, you have to have your right data saying, hey, this is our ideal customer. Here's our value prop. You're providing these inputs. So then the AI can, analyze that, and you can provide the recommendations. I'm just curious, how has it helped and this for anyone's your individual business, if it's like really forced you to get really specific, right? So then you can provide the right data so you get the good outputs, in this portfolio. Does anybody want to share that? Meaning, let me rephrase the question. Has it helped? I know I see the value of doing the exercise to help the consortium. Has it helped you by going through that exercise, force you to maybe hone some things in your individual company pursuits?
For me, because what I do a lot of time is hunting, it helped me kind of get a couple more spears in my quiver. So as I'm out there kind of understanding, where Pramod sits, where Paul sits, where Nigel sits, where Catherine, so I know where everybody sits. As I'm having the conversation, I'm looking for key terms, and it certainly has helped me be a little more effective in recognizing opportunities. And then also in my existing book, as I'm talking to clients and they bring up, various projects, I was kind of limited to what I was doing in the past. And just by enriching my experience with the partner group in Seattle, it's opened my eyes to be able to think, okay, that's a little marker. I'll mark that off, and in about a month or so, I'm going to follow up and go chase that deal down.
Nice. Before I jump to about talking about like the collaborative spirit and some of the cultural aspects, Rudy, did you have any questions about this you wanted to jump in on?
Now, I'm just intrigued by the collaborative spirit. How do I know it's hard to maintain. So how often do you guys communicate? I know you used AI to help you hone your messages, but how often do you communicate amongst yourselves and discuss the pipeline and such that you're working on?
So we meet weekly, and we discuss a whole range of things, but best practices and opportunities. And then if something specific comes up, like Pat recently had an RFP to discuss, then there are meetings outside the group meetings for those partners, members that are involved in that. and there are individuals. So I think so we have one fixed meeting, and there are others that follow up, and of course we're on email all the time, seeking opportunities and seeking how to work together.
Yeah, and I think it's important to add there's obviously the structured approach where we meet every Tuesday, but also there's the unstructured approach. We know as BizSites what we can and what we can't do. And I know within this group, so for example, around Power BI, Pramod's got those capabilities. So there may be the collective meeting, but also there's a side meetings when you've got immediate opportunities.
I would also add to Rudy, just the time that we've been together, we've developed a sense of trust, because a lot of times some of this stuff is proprietary information. And so, there's a certain amount of trust we have to be able to share with each other as we're talking about opportunities, as we're talking about particular technologies we're providing. So, using those secret weapons in our group in a trusted environment is a big help.
Yes, and also several members can overlap in the expertise that they have, but instead of competing, there is a discussion about agreeing who's taking the lead on a particular project, and then people stay in their own lanes, and that just builds on that trust.
We also have a centralized team communication channel where we keep all our information so we can communicate very easily.
And actually, speaking to building trust, one of the things that has been hugely beneficial of having this breadth of individuals and ultimately experience and expertise in the broader group, I can't tell you how many times I've identified a potential opportunity that would not be within the fold at Second Forge Group. And it's provided an opportunity to reach out to somebody in the IAMCP Seattle Joint Solution Group and bring it to their attention. And that alone builds an incredible amount of trust. Like, we're not just in it for ourselves, because we have built a dynamic, arguably a friendship as a group. There is just that sense of wanting to see one another excel even beyond our own benefit, which is, there's a lot to that.
And Anthony, I'm not sure if I'm jumping into your next question here or not, but I think one important thing to note too, our collaboration and our cooperation as a group, it wouldn't be possible without the right foundation. And I'll shout out Paul here, because he is our leader, and he has been able to kind of keep things together. Whereas, I feel like you bring this many people together, it's kind of loosey-goosey, it's easy to fade away, right? Paul keeps us focused and keeps us on the ball. And I think that the fact that we've worked together, through the IMCP chapter and have that cadence already, we're used to coming together on a regular basis, keeping those lines of communication open. So I really think that the foundation that we've already laid out keeps our collaboration together. It keeps us, looking towards the future as well.
Well, Catherine, you read my mind. You need to add that to your 35. So now you got 36, Paul. Mind reading, because I want.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a team effort.
Say what?
I was just saying that it's a team effort. We all contribute in goodwill and good intent.
Well, Catherine, if you could actually, I'd like you if you could maybe unpack that a little bit more about the details, maybe about maintaining that collaborative spirit across 8 companies with different cultures, business goals and technical specialties. So, let's get into the some nitty gritty on how does that maintain that collaborative spirit.
Sure. Well, I think that we've come into this with shared core values for all of our companies. While we all have unique perspectives, area of expertise, cultures, and we do. It's important for us to show up for each other's and each week. I know we can't all make every meeting, but we do prioritize them, and also show up for our clients. Like ready to make meaningful business outcomes for them. So, as far as the nitty gritty, I would say, if anyone else is interested in doing something like this, I'm having, maybe a clear leader of the group. Also, get things on paper, documentation, contracts. I think that's important. It holds people accountable to the outcomes, and planning ahead for a certain period of time, whether it's a quarter or a year. I think all of those logistical items help us be a little bit more free in our day to day with each other.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I think that it's a great segue into talking about maybe customer wins and impact and how you guys bring the story to life. Rudy.
So I was really intrigued when you said you had 35, now 36 AI solutions, frontier solutions. We since mind reading got added to it by Anthony. So one of the things there, what has been the most, I guess, particularly compelling outcome in terms of implementation and the resulting customer value? How do you celebrate those wins? What makes it so compelling for this group?
Yeah, so we Denny and I actually work on a couple of wins where one is with Oregon Food Bank. We actually completed that project. It was a very good one. We started from IAMCP as a small, like a POG, like a small group where we actually brainstorm a project, and that's how that project came in. That was a very good one. And then we expanded that to another manufacturing client. And now we are, from all those kind of experience, we started to build another new product called Twin Intelligence, where those kind of information actually help us to brainstorm on different topics, where we are bringing in different other agentic AI ideas. Michael is actually building another one. So we are exploring different areas where we can actually succeed in this new world of frontier AIs.
Yeah, I would add to the compelling outcomes are the conversations that we're having, that the clients and customers are pushing us and asking for things that are not really existing right now. And so creating them and providing proof of concepts, and having this dialogue with the advancements of AI and how to use AI in those applications. We're including real intelligence in the loop, and kind of pushing forward in areas that we would not have normally thought of. So I would say that's one of the compelling outcomes, is the innovation that's coming, and it becomes infectious and more exciting. As an organization, we have at least for me, well, I have my various typical services, the foundations of what companies they're built off of. But working with Pramod and Michael and Catherine, um, it's kind of like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, I often will just ask, "Hey, can we build this?" And Pramod will say, "Oh, I got that," or Michael Michael will say, "I got that," and so that's what's been fantastic.
So, are you building case studies individually for your companies or as a group? How are you handling these joint wins?
We just had a conversation a while ago with Michael. We were trying to put together a RFP together, and we were looking at, oh, how can we actually put together all these case studies, and we brainstorm on those case studies, and we were able to come up with a good one that actually we can put together. So we are combining all these case studies together to come up with a good one that has a high chance of succeeding.
Yeah, and to add to that, the strength is not only in the case studies that we bring, right? It's also the experience that comes along with it. Because in fact, the conversation that Pramod was alluding to, it's like conversations around, like for us, for example, like as we build case studies, there are things that maybe um, we don't have the experience. Let's say if like within the government or the public sector, right? So like the due diligence things we need to be looking out for, right? To protect our client, to protect privacy and confidentiality, right? Those are things that maybe some of us might not have, maybe within our sector, not familiar with, especially when it comes to the government. But shared experience really, elicits that, and then we can kind of tap into it and know that, hey, if you go into the public sector, you do this. If you're, within the private sector, these are the things that you do, right? And that the collaboration brings that experience out, and we can share and then protect each other there as well.
Well, that's great information. So, how do you plan on scaling this model, this Seattle Joint Solutions Group? You planning on any additional partners, other specializations? I heard there's another specialization coming up in H2, from a meeting today. Or are you looking to expand your geographic reach, maybe work with other IMCP chapters?
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. We believe that there are some phases to this. The first phase was to have a finite number of members participating and keeping the group manageable. And so we settled at 8. We actually had people interested from SoCal and other places to join us, but we decided that we don't want to do that just yet. We want to prove ourselves first. And that's what 2024 was, to get a framework together that allows us to assemble this diverse team and have a path moving forward. We will definitely have an open door. We want others, but we just want to make sure that we have a focus group that can demonstrate success first. So that's what we've done in 2024. In 2025. In 2026, two things. One is extend to more solutions, if you like, by having others participate, but in a thoughtful way. We don't want to just suddenly go from 8 to 18. We want to make sure that there are opportunities to justify that. And the other one is to help other chapters to do this kind of work as well. And this is part of the partnering chair capacity that I have, that I'd like to take this framework and take it to other chapters, so other chapters will benefit, and then have cross-chapter collaboration. So that's the plan. And right now, we're at 2025 was the phase to prove this group success.
We also have plans to expand our, as Paul mentioned, we have plans to expand our number of solutions. At the same time, we want to publicize those solutions to the world so that people know that there is these solutions which we are providing as a combined solution.
So, I've got a follow-up question to this. So, you're talking about expanding the solutions. How do you expand the sales capacity for this? And maybe Denny will want to talk to this because he's the one that is out there hunting. But as a group, how do you expand the sales capacity to really go out and share this story some more?
We're all salespeople, whether we're selling ourselves, selling a concept, selling an idea. So I'm certainly not alone. I think the benefit of all of us working together and scaling together is just recognizing that, as a group, we get a better understanding. The more we're communicating and building this trust, we can kind of have that open dialogue of back and forth, and the comfort to be able to just pick up a phone. Like, I'll randomly just call Pramod or Catherine or whoever, just because we have that comfortable relationship. And whether they're on the phone or not, I might catch them in between, but because we have that trust with each other, that'll open up opportunity. I reached out to Catherine one day, just bouncing an idea off of her of, a particular offering of how I think this could work. And just that little bit of back and forth gave me the confidence to go approach a couple of customers to talk about different ideas. And just that exposure and them and everybody else being able to, have that, I think that's where it's at. So as far as scaling, we're all going to scale together. And I think that's kind of the benefit of it.
And actually, in addition to being able to rely upon the broader group from a sales enablement and just overall capacity perspective, there's also the Microsoft seller ecosystem. And I think our group offers that audience specifically something something really exciting, something very compelling. If we consider the potential of our group from their perspective, what are they driven by? They want replicable, scalable wins, and they want positive client experiences that allow them to ultimately expand share of wallet with that client over time. And what better way to do that than with a collective of companies offering such a broad range of potential solutions and services? I think so often small to mid-market companies, the sort that we're really targeting effectively with the IAMCP Seattle Joint Solution Group, they would really benefit from the advisory and the capability and skill of like a large scale consultancy. Who wouldn't, right? But that's not accessible in terms of cost and energy and time. And I think that we can offer that through the capability and skill of our group at, again, a price point that is accessible. So for those Microsoft sellers out there, please consider reaching out. There's a ton of potential with our group.
Everything Alexandra said, absolutely, that Microsoft can benefit not only from our joint solutions, but Microsoft can benefit from our framework on how to build scalable partnerships across multiple partners. And I don't believe Microsoft is doing that. I think Microsoft at best is supporting P2P, which is two partners partnering together. But we have a way, a framework, a method that's proven itself to help them do that across multiple partners. So we're hoping that they notice that and that we can have some conversation. The other part I just wanted to address, Rudy, is about sales. So we all have sales forces and we all sell. And the difference is that we're now open to projects that each individual company wouldn't be able to address before. But also, we have JP's social selling, AI-driven social selling system. And that's something very unique and very specialized that every one of the members can and is taking advantage of. So that's specific value that we're bringing together to each other.
One more thing to add is we came from different backgrounds, like 8 different companies have multiple different industries. So for me as a company, when I'm looking at it, I'm able to tap into another industry through the other partner. That is also another sales channel I'm also looking at, where I am able to expand. So it's like a co-sell where we are getting to tap into another industry.
No, that's great. I'd like to kind of go back to there was a point we were touching on about with the Microsoft sellers, and my question would be is, and if we can maybe unpack a little bit more about what would be the one thing, right, you would want Microsoft sellers to understand about activating these solutions with customers?
The one thing I would really want them to step away from this conversation, I'd want them to consider the potential they stand to deliver in market. Through our group, they can offer like the breadth and capability of, say, a large scale consultancy at an accessible cost. And that's really, really powerful, especially as so many SMBs and mid-market organizations are understandably considering ways to reduce undue resource expenditure. Here we are. And through this small but mighty group, we can offer something that not only allows a replicable, scalable sales motion for those Microsoft sellers, but also a team of people who I like to think are pretty fantastic. I think that we will offer together a great client experience that will ultimately be to the benefit of those Microsoft sellers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this has been very insightful. So I really appreciate everyone's contribution. I do have one more question, and I would like to hear from each of you as we wrap up. And so For those that are listening, obviously this is a unique first thing type of a thing within IMCP. And I know, as even Paul alluded, that a lot of the partners are used to like a P2P where you have two companies, maybe three. This idea of eight as part of a consortium is unique. So if another, and my question is, and I do want to hear from each of you, is if another partner listening today wanted to replicate your success, and so I like you to put your hat your hat on as business owner and leader, as part of IMCP, what's the one principle or mindset shift you tell them to adopt first?
I would say a rising tide raises all ships. That kind of saying where if one wins, we all win. And to go into it with a selfless kind of mindset that um, if we can win together, everybody wins. So,
Kind of a spin on what's in it for us as opposed to what's in it for me. In that, when you join this kind of group, your efforts should be on behalf of the group, not just yourself. And that builds trust and gives and take and goodwill, and all good things happen with that.
So I mean, I would say approaching this, and being willing to also share expertise, right? Because I mean, as much as we join the group to really tap on each other's experience and connections or what have you, I think it's also important not to come in thinking hey, I'm just gonna come and take, but also be willing to share what you have experience wise, connection wise, and then also ideas, being creative. Chatting with the team about, hey, what do you think about this idea, like Promote alluded to, right? And Denny as well. So just come in at it as, yes, I'm coming in to join this team, take advantage of that connection, but at the same time also be willing to share yourself as well.
I'd love to tag in on the tail end of that because one of the things that I think we all bring to this is a growth mindset. It's almost cliche to say at this point, but it's so, so invaluable. Every one of us, and kind of Michael, you were alluding to this, like we join our calls, we join all of our joint initiatives with the intention of learning from one another. And what a beautiful way to really just benefit beyond business, right? Like by engaging this group, I'll speak for myself. I know that every single time I connect with somebody or with the group, I feel like I step away with a greater understanding of what I can potentially offer and offer in part of Second Forge Group, but also just as an individual. And there's a lot of power in that.
I'd say number one, understand your own limitations as a single company. You often hear the concept of build versus buy. I'd say build versus partner. And then, we've said this many times, trust. You're opening up your own pipeline to trusted people, and likewise them to you. It's that level of trust that you want to work together. So those are the three things.
Yeah, to follow up on that, Nigel, if I could, I think there's a level of mindfulness we all have to have because while we're all willing participants in this group, we also still have our responsibilities to the companies that we work for as well. So there's a level of like I mean, Nigel couldn't have said it better. We're opening up our pipelines, right? Things that we're doing with our companies that we're trying to create with our companies to a group of folks who aren't, necessarily invested in our companies. So there's patience, there's trust, there's that situational awareness that we're all here. We want to make something of it. We want to do this to the best of our abilities, but we still do have to be responsible to the organizations from which we come.
Yeah, in my case, initially in my stages of the business, I was looking at most of the businesses as my competitors. So whenever I do partnership, it's very difficult to actually bring that trust in. But with this group, I think that I took that away. So it's more like we trust each other. Whenever we are winning, when someone else is winning, we are actually learning from that. So that growth mindset and the trust is actually very key to our success.
And Catherine?
Yeah, I would say that be flexible with your definition of success. right? Because I think there was a lot of change, especially at the beginning, you know, of how we would define success and how we define success now. So I think, yeah, just be very flexible with your definition of what success looks like to the group.
Fantastic. Well, this was great. Really appreciate all of your input. I know we'll include your LinkedIn and company websites in the show notes. Paul, is there what's like if somebody's interested in contacting the Seattle Joint Solutions Group? Is there a primary is there a LinkedIn page or a website to contact just the group?
Yes, Catherine, you've built the LinkedIn page, right? Is there a way of collecting information from there?
Yeah. Do you want me to give the information here aloud? Would you like me to
Yeah,
send it?
yeah. Actually, if you can go ahead and send me that link, and I'll include. So the best way for those that are listening, if they're interested in contacting the Seattle Joint Solutions Group, we'll have their LinkedIn page in the show notes. Also have each of your LinkedIn and company addresses in the show notes as well. So that would be great. Well, once again, y'all, thank you so much. This was very insightful. Really appreciate you, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you,
See all
team.
of
Thank
you.
you so much.
Wow, that was a fun episode. It's a first for this podcast having that many guests on at once. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's really encouraging to see an IAMCP chapter working together like this. Building trust amongst what was it, 8 partners, eight separate companies coming together, willing to work together to help them build their individual businesses as well as a larger group business. And that's something that I hope Paul and his group continue to document, because building trust amongst a group that big is hard. It's very hard. And yet they're willing to do it, and they're working towards something that's rather unique and hopefully replicable across the country amongst Microsoft partners. There's a good lesson to be learned here, a very good lesson to be learned here. And knowing Paul Solsky as long as I have, I think he will do an excellent job of documenting that story, and I look forward to working with him to help push this across for other IAMCP chapters.
No, it was really fascinating. I mean, the thing that I probably enjoyed, I mean, obviously the whole story was very interesting, but I really appreciated the fact that you have these business owners and leaders come, having the humility and the willingness to participate in a group like this amidst, I guess there's so much, self-centered, selfish, culture, nowadays, but the willingness to say, yeah, we're still got to pursue, our business goals, right? You've got being mindful about that, but at the same time realize that they can, do more, together, and have that humility and that mindset to do that. And just hearing the stories too, it's really fascinating to see how this dynamic works out to where you can operate both with the nimbleness and the agility of a small company, but then provide some of the capability and capacity that you would find in a larger company through this consortium. So it was very fascinating to get to hear some of the stories, and I definitely look forward to seeing some of the future successes coming down the road.
Absolutely. Well, it was certainly a very exciting episode. So thank you for joining us on this episode of IAMCP Profiles in Partnership, powered by Dunamis Marketing. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. One of the best ways to partner for success is to join IAMCP, a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. IAMCP members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. To learn more, visit the website at www.iamcp.org.